Now, there is a rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there is a rumor that Winnipeg, all of their souvenir stuff smells like maple syrup.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm Kyle Svetich. He's Chuck Polarek. Chuck, how's your off season going?
It's been a long one.
You know, it has been for us RailCats fans, obviously being last in the league, and congratulations to Kane County on winning the Miles Wolff Cup championship. We'll get to them in a minute, but interesting thing that happened. Me and you discussed a couple weeks ago on the podcast about maybe potentially the Railcats looking to go maybe the Frontier League just because
And
of
people were listening. People,
people. Yeah, and realistically, we got the idea because I was scrolling through Facebook and someone mentioned it. I was like, I guess that was one of those things that I didn't really think about, and people been talking about it. Well, on September 9th, uh, the Atlanta Braves decided to pull Mississippi Braves, the Double A team, out of Mississippi and send them over to Columbus, Georgia. And the Frontier League decided to extend to 17 teams, and the owner happens to be the owner of the Railcats. Joe is now the owner of said team in the Frontier League. The 17th team uh, has not been the name hasn't been announced yet. But here's something to take away from this is he said going into it quote unquote, let me see where I wrote it down, but then I missed it. Oh, he said, quote, Mississippi has a great baseball culture, and we are excited to bring the Frontier League to Trustman Park, unquote. Now, I know a lot of RailCats fans are maybe shaking a little bit in their boots, and feel a little bit discouraged. The claws kind of retract a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe they extended because of frustration. Because this is the first time a RailCats ownership has bought into the Frontier League. Uh, Thanks to the Selby family, because without them, there wouldn't have been the Schaumburg Boomers. Now, thanks to Mr. Eng, there's going to be a team in Mississippi. What's your initial reaction to that?
well, I'm happy for Joe. I actually sent him an email telling him congratulations. They're looking at apparently they have a poll online where you can pick the name, voting till like the 29th or something like that. So, uh, I think that's interesting. But when we had Joe on, he talked about the fan experience and making this into an experience. Seeing that, uh, Kane County gets a lot of people that show up, and they're in the same situation as Mississippi, where you have an affiliate team that was there. Affiliate team leaves. Now people are still wanting baseball. So, I think Joe's looking for something that's going to have a lot of fans, and, building an organization from the bottom up. And I think he has the tools to be able to do it with the RailCats people. So, it's very, very interesting. But, hey, this is how you kind of build a business. And, this is something that Joe, you can tell when he's out there, this is something Joe loves to do.
Mhm.
So, uh, good for him. Now, how does this relate to play on the field? Uh, you know what? I think that it's great because now you get another manager in down there that maybe has some connections, and maybe there's some, trading in between of, hey, I'm looking for this, and oh, I can get you somebody that can do that, and here's the contacts or whatever, and you just kind of build up. So, um, hopefully that's the way that it goes.
Yeah, I know I reached out to Joe. This was before we found out about the him buying the Frontier League. I talked to him about the winter meetings for the American Association, getting him on afterwards. And that was just supposed to be talking about the winter, with the winter portion of it, the owners' meeting, so on and so forth. But now I think most of it's going to probably be about the new team, and how that's going to affect his time. Because I think the one comment that was being made is his time is so limited with Gary in the first place. Now he has to split that time between two teams, and how much. time is going to be sent Gary's way because realistically, we do have a very good loyal fan base, and the, things have been neglected for so many years that fans, I feel like this is just a repeat of what it has been. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I can see the fear. I can smell the frustration or
Well,
see the frustration, smell the fear, however you want to
yeah,
spin it.
I can
But
tell you that, if you look at the letter that or the press release or whatever, Joe has a business.
mhm,
He has other people that work in that ownership group. So it's not just Joe as himself buying a team and then turning around and buying another team and all the stuff's on Joe's shoulders. So he's got other people in his operation group that can help make sure that things are flowing the way that they need to be. It's just a question of seeing Joe's face
mhm.
when you're in Gary and Joe, showing his face in Mississippi. And I don't think there's a concern there.
I,
Joe loves baseball, so and he wants the experience, and he's got people like me, people like
yeah.
you that when the crap hits the fan, we're going to be the guys that say, "Hey, Joe, this is what's going on. We don't like it. Please fix it." And he's going to, put his ownership hat on and say, "Hey, okay, I understand. Either we're going to fix it or we won't, or here's why." You know. Um, but that being said, you know, I'd love to see the All-Star game in Gary. I'd love to see a better quality product on the field at Gary. Um, I'd love to see us to continue to grow that fan experience in Gary. Which, that hey, that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna happen. And part of that growing that fan experience, as I'm watching the Kane County game, I noticed that Winnipeg has a DJ. And so why do we not have a DJ?
Get DJ Rusty out there,
I
we'll
know, Rusty
flip it around and
wheels, right? And playing some music for us. I mean, come on. If Winnipeg gets it, why do we not get it?
I I just going back to the point with Joe is I don't think he is that type of owner that's going to just uh, leave one franchise and just go to the other one and just keep another one for keepsake. I don't think that's the case at all, and I think that's what the fear is, though. I don't think Joe is that type of person. I think it's going to be another experimental atmosphere for him. I know in one interview he had the press was more concerned about off the field stuff than they were on the field stuff because that's where they have the big concerts and that's a big central point for Pearl there in Mississippi and for Gary it's not, it's the baseball side of it. So like he the one comment that kind of was like, oh, I really wish it was the same way with with us, was he said he's more concerned about the on the field stuff. But again, that's something he has to focus on right then and there because he's bringing in a brand new team. It's not like he's been giving a team. He's
Right.
bringing in a brand new team. And with Gary, I think a lot of it was off the field experience that they were trying to fix. So the on field kind of got put on the wayside. So it's like both teams at the certain extent are on uh, either side of this. So I mean, realistically, it's a sister team to us
Yep.
as the Frontier League. So I'm not going to sit there and bash it because I think it's a good move. I do. It opens your horizon to different things, and if something works somewhere, it might work somewhere else, or it doesn't, and you can always feed off of it. And like you said, you could turn it into sort of a feeder team of a certain extent where you may have one guy that might work better in the Frontier League and one better work in the American Association, and they're just flip-flopped. And that's something you could work out. Yet again, that's with discretion of the managers and other stuff. I mean, he's just the overseer of it. I think the team down there will get up and running. I don't think it'll be an issue. It's just a more of a less of, I know you made the point when we went out to the Golden Corral down there in Maryville. Uh, to get some good breakfast. That I haven't been to Golden Crown in like 10 years, so that was some good breakfast. But you mentioned something about like a potential like Anthony going down there. Like if he gets pulled away, what's that experience? How are we going to fill that role? Because Anthony, I think, is a good day-to-day operations person. He may not quote unquote be a baseball guy, but he's a good day-to-day operation. He keeps the team moving, he keeps it fluent. So is it one of those, do you disrupt what goes on here to help something go down there? I think that to me, I think that's the biggest factor with it is
Yeah, I don't.
what kind of front office members are, if you are going to pull them away from Gary and maybe like extend some resources down that way.
I think that that's necessary. I think that you have to be able to take the expertise that we have in Gary and share that with being down there. But it's not a one or the other. That's the thing is, it's not a, well, we either have a good guy here or we have a good guy there. It's about finding another good guy,
Mhm.
right? And I think that that's possible. I think that you utilize the talent and the experience that you have in Gary to help build talent and experience um, in Mississippi. But that being said, do you necessarily have to toe that line of taking away from Gary? I don't think that happens. And I don't think
Mhm.
Joe had to change culture in Gary. He
Yeah.
gets to set culture in Mississippi, right? And that takes a lot of times a lot less time because you have to, it's a habit, right? Changing habits takes a lot longer than just setting habits correctly the first time.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, now we've taken a year and a half of changing habits, really focusing on the fan experience, trying to figure out how to grow Gary. What if he goes to Mississippi and winds up hitting a home run and winds up, having this cash cow down there? Well, where's that money going to go? That money winds up going up into Gary to help Gary get better.
Yeah.
So it you can look at it 100 different ways and what have you, but it really comes down to who Joe is. And Joe's a good guy. Joe's a baseball guy. Joe wants to see this succeed, not from a financial side of it, but just from a, hey, he touched his hands on it and he's a
Mhm.
guy that wants to succeed. So it's going to. I don't question that at all.
Yeah, no, I don't, I'm not, I mean, obviously we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we could be dead wrong or we could be completely on point. Who knows? That's just something that'll come in the future of it. I just think that, maybe he took a little bit out of the, uh, what could potentially be a Kane County situation where they bring 10,000 fans in almost every freaking night just because of their promotions and other stuff. So maybe speaking of Kane County, them winning the
Well,
Miles
hold
Wolff.
on, hold
Wait,
on.
go.
We need to say this. So who broke the news of Joe owning the team? This guy.
Yes, and show,
Why?
yes, yes,
Because I
just
sent you the link and you're like, oh yeah, I saw that they were having a team. No, did you see who the owner was?
yeah. I did. I saw it the day before or whenever it released. I went, oh, that's cool. Moved on, and you're like, no, like look who the owner. I was like, all right. So I scrolled down a little bit, and I was like,
What the?
no. So yeah, and then I ruined it by putting it on Twitter and Facebook and all that. And you want to do an emergency podcast, and I ruined
Right.
all of
We
that.
got to start
So
when there's breaking news, we need to have people listen to us versus reading a story about it.
well, that's partially on you because you didn't tell me until after the fact. But
Right.
nonetheless,
Right. That's all my fault. Let's
nonetheless,
pretend.
talking now, reel it into the American Association.
Kane
Uh,
County
Kane County wins it all, and
sweeps.
they are the only team to go through the entire playoffs and not lose a single game.
They're
Now,
not.
I don't know if that's like the entirety of the American Association in general, but I know at least with the new playoff extension that they're
Right.
doing, I know that one for sure.
Two other teams have won 6 playoff games to win the championship. This is the first time you had to win 7, and they're the only one to win 7 in a row to win it all. So,
So,
but what did it come down to though? It was all pitching,
yeah,
timely hitting. putting down bunts, moving runners over, smart base running. I mean, if you really want to have a master class on how to play independent baseball,
Hmm.
Kane County, they put it on. They put
Yeah.
on the and there was nothing that anybody could do about it. I mean, you're going up against the hottest team in the American Association with Lake Country, and you shut them down. You go up against a team that's off of a high of beating Cleburne, and you shut them down. And then you're going up against the number one team in the association, who you have to travel to Canada to be able to play them in the last game. You're facing this team that appears to be like, hey, this is going to be tough, and they wind up beating them handily.
Hmm.
And we even called what we were talking. We called out that Cornelius Randolph was going
Yep.
to be the lead. Sure enough, he was. So it was an awesome game. I'm glad that Galley got to win a championship. Um, I'm glad that the guy who I call the RailCats killer, Harrison Smith,
Yep.
got to win a championship. These guys, they, you know, Armand Upshaw, Cornelius Randolph, these guys have been there for a couple years. They got to win. I mean, it was just it was beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, hey, good for them. Way to show everybody else in the league how to play some baseball.
And realistically, me and you both said that I said midway through the season, I think Cleveland was going to win it all. I don't think them choosing Chicago was the smartest move. I think they should have taken Lake Country. That's just because of here nor there. But again, when we sat there during game 3 of the Cleveland Chicago game, midway through it, I said, well, if Chicago wins, Kane County don't sleep on them because they may come through and just win it all. And they did. I mean, they went through the entire season just there. They were just there. They played really good baseball. They got hot when they needed to. They had the right combination. They weren't heavy one side or the other. You could have picked out days where it was just like pitching staff wasn't there, offense wasn't there. But then when it came down to it, they both coincided and they won themselves a championship. Winnipeg on the other side, that was the hottest team. That was the best team basically in the American Association, just solely on their pitching and their defense or their offense dried up. And they had a couple miscues, I believe, or I know King County had a couple miscues in the third game, but I think Winnipeg also had a couple, where things kind of faltered. But it was who was going to climb over that adversity a little bit better. And I think, obviously King County did in that circumstance. So I think if you're going to want to model a team in the league, that this is the team that you would want to model it after. You didn't have too much power. You didn't have
Game one, this was the catch to me. This was the part that like set me off. Game one, you go into the ninth inning and you let them tie it up.
Mhm.
And then you go two more innings of no hit shutout baseball or whatever it was. I mean, it was two innings of we're not going to lose this. And then you wind up walking it off,
Yep.
right? And then the next game, you put in the same situation, the same pitcher who then loads the bases with one out. And you're like, was this a good call? You made a mistake. You shouldn't have put this guy back in. He's not doing good, Tyler Beardsley.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, and you see it, the ball gets hit to Beardsley. He starts to get ready to throw the first base. He realizes, oh, I can throw home. Throws home, gets him out for the force, and then throws to first for the double play, and they win it, right?
Yep.
And then game 3, they put him back out there again. And game 3, he shuts it down.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It was knowing your guys, knowing that they can get through it, and not having the mentality of, we're going to lose this at the end. Not a single time did I feel like they had the mentality of, oh, crap. Because you saw somebody make an error, and then what happened? The rest of the team picked them up, and they kept going. Galley had an awful throw to first base. Overthrew first base. They had another one that over through base and ended up going into the stands, and they awarded the guy second base. Stuff like that. Mistakes. And
Yeah.
yet, what happened? The pitchers didn't give up. The pitchers didn't put too much on their shoulders. They came out, they delivered. It was amazing. It was amazing. That's the part that as a RailCats fan, I was like, you mean this could actually happen like this?
Yeah. I know I'm just it's just going through and watching all the teams. I could nitpick apart every team because of one side or the other. I mean, you have basically 4 games out of the 7 where you don't give up more than 2 runs. You shut out a team and win 1-0 twice. Everything is within 1 run. Like your offense did just enough to win you the games, but your defense won you the pitching and the defense won you the championship. Like that's the prime example is offense wins you games, defense wins you championships, and that was right there. Now you obviously on like Winnipeg side, you can say, well, they had the best pitching staff in the league and they didn't win. Well, they just didn't have enough offense.
Right. They were down by 1 run. They came back
Yeah.
to tie it 3-3 and then gave up 2 more.
hmm
I mean,
Some of
it,
these were, I mean, most of these games were coin flip games, and at the end of the day, if one wrong pitch or one wrong move or call, like it could have changed the entirety of the series. But it just went King County's way because they just did enough to win, and sometimes that's all you need.
well, and like I said, all it takes is that little bit of doubt,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you're making mistakes as a pitcher, and all of a sudden you're blowing the game. And you had that opportunity with Beardsley where it's like, okay, but no, this guy was on, his team was behind him, hyping him up. It's there. It was amazing. It really was.
yeah,
Seeing a team come together like that, to me, that's baseball. That's the best part about baseball.
yeah. And they did. When they needed the power, they had it, but a lot of times it was the small ball stuff, the exciting, the bunting, the squeeze. I think they had 2 suicide basically squeezes in the Winnipeg series to get them on the board with stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff that I find more exciting than someone just hitting a solo home run. Now, granted, if it's the bottom of the ninth and you're down by 3 runs and someone hits a grand slam to walk it off, like yeah, I'd take that 9 times out of 10. But in the case of like hair standing up, you biting your lips and going, oh no, I can't believe, oh, he's safe. Like that is the excitement that I enjoy about baseball. That's the excitement that I think most people are missing when it comes to the sport of baseball because it's all about, well, can my pitcher throw faster than your pitcher or can your hitters hit my fastball? And if they do, it's going to go out. But like that's the stuff that I think lulls people away.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with
It's the
that.
risky steal of third base with 2 outs and you're down by a run. It's
The double
stealing second,
double steal, right? It's the having a guy on third with 1 out, you wind up getting out of it. You see right there that a little mistake could could cost it, and yet you play to perfection.
Yep.
That's the wonderful thing about it. There's always the opportunity to get out of the jam. You just have to figure it out. And some of these teams they do it perfectly. They do it to perfection. And some of these teams, you can just sit there and say, okay, we lost this one, but you're still up by 3 runs. Doesn't matter. We lost this one.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it happened.
Yeah, I know kind of, again, congratulations to Kane County for winning it all. Uh, Going towards like Winnipeg here real quick, congratulations to them for winning the Western Division. I almost said Western Conference Final just because I have hockey on my brain. That's a few short days away. But the one thing that impressed me, you can even take this to Quebec in the Frontier League, as you mentioned, them selling out and Winnipeg selling out. The Canadian fans, when it came down to, hey, there's a baseball game on and it's meaningful, come enjoy a baseball game. Like there was a lot of that.
Did you
And
did you hear the fan when Josh Allen gets up to bat and the fan yelled, "Go back to Buffalo"? They were heckling the players, and even over the speaker, you could hear,
Yeah,
"And go back to Buffalo." And the commentators started laughing.
I mean, I just hands off to those the Canadian market for showing up because there's a lot of times that everyone talks and there's people that don't understand independent base that are newer to independent baseball. I got that a lot this year. Some people that were newer to it. You talk about playoff games and someone was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a struggle to get fans out." One's like, Why?" There's a lot that goes into it. You got football season starting, back to school. It's independent based. Not a lot of people follow it to a T, unlike some of us, so they don't understand the magnitude behind it. The
Right.
Canadian markets, realistically, it's all right, hockey season and whatever's in between that. If we're being completely honest, I mean, they don't really, I mean, other than the Toronto Blue Jays, they don't really have a baseball market to deal with.
Do the Canadians even go to school?
I, I don't I
I
think
don't.
so.
I don't.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think so. So the
Like I said, it's hockey and maple syrup season around the corner. So, yeah. In the meantime, while the lakes are thawed, they need something else to do when
yeah.
it's baseball season. But it's good to see that. It's good to see fans that are still passionate about it. It does. It sucks that you sell out a stadium and you get to see another team celebrate on the field.
Yep.
And but hands off to Logan Watkins, getting released from King or from Cleburne, getting fired basically, saying, "All right, we don't need you anymore. We're gonna get someone else in." And then you going
Sure.
up there and you take a team that was basically dead last in the West, and you take them all the way to the finals. Like that's just a huge, I think he won Manager of the Year. I think they also won GM of the Year.
I believe so.
I believe so. So like that kind of stuff is something positive to look forward to for them at least, and that's something to kind of keep in mind that you can still do it in our market. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen. Not quite sure yet, but it's possible.
Now there is a rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there is a rumor that Winnipeg, all of their souvenir stuff smells like maple syrup.
Well,
Now I don't know if that. I mean, I think that's how you can tell if something's authentic from Canada. So I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. That's what
okay,
people are.
okay. So note to self: if we ever head out to Winnipeg and buy a souvenir, I gotta make sure I smell it for the
Maple syrup.
authenticity of the maple syrup. If there's no maple syrup, I'm gonna say this is imported. It's not real.
Exactly. Definitely from China.
So I mean, realistically, if there's any Winnipeg Gold Eyes fans or any Canadian fans really that's listening to this, let me know. Is it all souvenirs? Like, is it any
I heard it was all souvenirs.
all souvenirs? So like
So
now the one I would really expect it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I would expect all their souvenirs. I would even expect their locker room in their stadium to smell like
do you
maple
think
syrup.
your hockey puck smells like maple syrup?
I guess
Do you think it's in the very center of the rubber that it's actually maple syrup?
it
I
could
think it
be,
might be. I
you
mean, these
know.
just, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I'm going to say that, hey, I think there's a good possibility.
All right. I think we've spent enough time talking about other teams on this podcast
All right.
for the last 28 odd minutes. I know we talked about Joe who's a big part of the RailCats, but nonetheless, there are things that we can still take away from this. I know last podcast was me being negative and you're trying to flip the script of being more positive, and I shut you down on that one. So I'm gonna let you have and I'll piggyback off of it, but I want your biggest highlights or your most positive takeaways from the 2024 season.
Wow, this is something that we didn't discuss. I don't know if I'm prepared for this.
You're there.
Um,
You got it.
I got it. All right. My biggest takeaways. We saw on paper what should have been the best team in the league, and for some reason it wasn't. Um, I think that the attitude of the guys was great. I think that you saw where guys got frustrated and what have you, but the determination was still there. You had some pitchers that still went out there Even though they were some of the most used pitchers, they still went out there and gave it their all. And so the heart of this team was definitely there. So that I think is a bright spot. The fan interactions with the team and the players, uh, always beautiful, spot on. And I think that's something that Lamar is really good at, is bringing in good personality that fits with what he wants to have, along with the work ethic and stuff like that. So that was spot on. So those would be two of the things that I would look at team wise. And then I think that, hey, uh, there were some sellout games that I enjoyed. That it was just like, wow, it's getting there. There was some um, upgrades in the suites that you go up there and you look and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. The food, fantastic. So just the all around experience of being there. That every time I invited somebody from Chicago or wherever and they showed up, they really enjoyed
Hmm.
themselves and and made it a point to tell me, "Wow, this is great." And it didn't take 5,000 people to be there for that to happen. So those are my takeaways from this past season. I enjoyed it. Tickets, in case you haven't noticed, tickets are on sale now on the website. It says 2025. I didn't get an email or anything yet, so I don't know that anybody said that, but it looks like the pricing stayed the same for the family pack, $250. Get it as soon as you can. Make sure you get in there. Um, Sign up. You're not going to find a better bargain for the money. Um, And then I would say that, hey, if you do sign up for the family pass and you have extra tickets, give them to somebody that's
Hmm.
going to use them. Try to get more people there, you know.
Yeah, it's you have most time I have three extra tickets. They're just gonna sit there and do nothing anyways. So give it to give it to someone and go on their merry way with it. There's a lot to take away from the positive. I mean, you've talked about the suites. I've experienced the suites. It looks super nice up there with the bar. They with LG hitting that ball right through, right through the window and it hitting the sink. They have that ball displayed. The dent's still there in the sink. I think they're gonna end up replacing it. But you get to see that. You walk in, you feel the professionalism they have up there. I know they had a picture of LG swinging the bat all up on the wall. It's the modern feel to it. There's upgrades to it. It doesn't feel like the old style, the old maroon color that was up there, the dainty the dainty carpet that was up there. I don't know really much about the first base side or the third base side, but I know the first base side, that's where they did the massive upgrade, knocking down a couple walls, making it more of a bigger environment for people to go out and enjoy the game and that kind of stuff. Like that's a big positive. And Taylor Campbell taking that's her pride and joy, and the front office is always, I think, a big takeaway from this year is everyone is so willing to have a conversation with you, to sit there and talk to you from the owner down to the head of uh, food,
Grounds crew. Head of the
you know,
ground crew.
the grounds crew, yeah, all the way. I mean, all the way through. Even the people that just volunteer, pick up garbage at the end of the game, or whatever the case may be. Like everyone's just willing to, be there, have that conversation, and a friendly environment, and a not so friendly atmosphere, if that makes sense. The surrounding area of Gary, that's we talk about the highlight of Gary, and that's the Railcats are the highlight of the Gary. Like that's the one positive thing that you can take in and take in and out. And I know someone made a comment uh saying something along the lines of, well, we should just be happy that there's a team in Gary. You're right. We should just be happy because at any minute it could have turned a lot worse than it is. So that's every year that there's a team is a positive year, no matter what the record is. And, everyone has their right to bash a team or not bash a team, however you want to do it. But that's a positive. I mean, I think we did see a lot of great things on the field. Uh, Abatini making unbelievable catches as he comes in. I think we saw, a workload on a pitching, a handful of pitchers that were up to task. Not every game came out to be the way they wanted it to be, but they were there. The players showed up. They played their hardest. You have, like you said, fans all over. We meet Lori from the Chicago Dogs, wearing her dog's costume, coming to the game, and what a great person she is to represent that fan base. I know we got to meet Pat. I know you're well acquainted with him than I am, and then you got to meet Shy Fool, the dog's mega fan that's over there. Like, obviously you get some of that, but then you have Gretchen, Fargo. Uh,
Greta.
Greta, that's sorry, Greta, my bad. You have there's positives always take away from the situation than the negatives on the field. It may be more off the field stuff, but it's what's going to lead you guys to go to the games.
Right.
It's that interaction that you're going to get.
I do want to correct something that you said there. I'm not correct. Disagree with you slightly. I think that Stadium is definitely a gem of Gary or the gem of Gary, right? But I think that there's a misrepresentation of the area around,
Mhm.
a taboo about the area around the stadium, or I'm trying to think of what word I want to use there, but um, a stereotype
Yeah.
uh, of something that was some 35 years ago, right? About the area surrounding the stadium, and it's you know what, it's not a bad place to have a stadium. It
No,
really is.
and like I said,
And
there was two reasons mainly why I started this podcast. One was because I needed a hobby in between hockey season, and
hockey
baseball
season.
is that. And two, going to a game makes you makes you think different about Gary.
Yes.
There's not a time that I have gone where I've said, I just don't feel comfortable about this. There's
Yeah.
not, I can walk outside the stadium. I can, cruise down. The stereotypes, yes, but most of the time, if you're going there looking for trouble, you're going to find it.
You can go anywhere looking for trouble and find it.
Exactly. But going to a game, the notion of, well, it's in Gary is such a bad representation of that city and the people that live there or work there or do whatever they do there. It's just not that anymore. That notion
That's
is
the
just
reality. It's not the reality.
no, it's not, and it's going to be a stigma until something changes. It's always going to linger there, but sometimes when you just have a little bit of smoke, there's a fire underneath there somewhere, and if this is a little bit of a smoke, then uh, hopefully we can pour gasoline on it and make it bigger than what it is. Because I don't think there isn't a reason why we couldn't compete with a Kane County bringing in attendance, why we couldn't beat a Chicago. I mean, we are in the upper echelon of attendance with the American Association. We have big towns slash cities that are around us. So I don't see it. It's just a willingness for people to maybe get outside of their comfort zone a little bit and maybe open their eyes to the world that's around them and not just so focused on what they see on the news or they hear on the news or what other people tell them, maybe go experience the world for once. It's basically what that turns into is because you get a lot of people that goes, oh, I won't go because it's the same thing of like when me at work and someone asking, hey, do you guys got RailCat stuff here? What are you too scared to go to the stadium and get it? I mean, it's just simple as that. That's where you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it at the stadium. You can order online, but you're gonna get it at the stadium. Like you have to go to the stadium and get it.
Hopefully they'll be stocked with stuff because I had a lot of people that showed up and they're like, "Hey, you got stuff that
That's for another day.
we can talk about that in the off season."
Yeah, we talk about that in the offseason. Well, I mean, it's the offseason,
But it
but
is off season.
uh,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I get you. I agree with you. It's stigma is the word that I was looking for.
yeah,
I had to drive through Gary today and drive through a part of Gary that I hadn't been through. and I look up and I see this really, really nice apartment building. And I'm like, that's a really nice building. And then right next to it is a building that's not a nice building. And I'm like, wow. So they are starting to build
Yeah.
really nice apartment buildings. And I'm like, man, that's wow, you know? And hey, little bit by little bit, you're going to start seeing the city of Gary turn around. I really
Yeah,
do.
I think we're it's to that point to where you're gonna see it. It's just a matter of when does it happen? Do we see it in our lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. I hope so.
Oh, I think it's
It's starting that. I'm just saying that the
you
the
can't afford to live anywhere else, so there's got to be building up somewhere, that uh it's a natural progression.
yeah.
So, but
Well, or
that
they
being,
can just keep building my way because that's how it seems to be going.
oh, there you go. That being said, I think next podcast we need to talk about some awards.
Yes.
I think that we need to talk about MVP. We need to talk about pitcher of the year. We need to talk about a RailCat player of the year. When I say player of the year or team member of the year, a guy that just had it all, showed up early, worked hard, didn't necessarily have to have stats on the field to show that he was the best, but interaction with fans, one of those guys that you're just like, man, this guy is a guy that I love having on my team. That's, for a RailCats player. I also think that we need to talk about, hey, what are some upgrades to the stadium that we want to see? And that, so I think that's something great to talk about. So we've got a lot going on. We should start seeing some transactions here in the next 2, 3 months. That's going to be exciting. I think we talked about it before. What pieces would we like to see or
Hmm.
change or whatever? I think that's another conversation that we have. Um, watching Winnipeg, they have Edwin Arroyo. Uh, Paulie was there at Kane County. He's like, "Oh, I just love that they have Edwin on the team," and I'm like, "Man, see, I'm not the only one that noticed. This guy is a fantastic baseball player." And I got to talking to Natasha. I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be great to have Edwin at second base for us and then have Gio out in center field? And we've got two of the best contact hitting
Hmm.
guys get on base. Oh man. So there's a plethora of possibilities.
Yes.
Hopefully, we have those conversations. The people that make the decisions are listening.
Well, hopefully that's not the conversation of not they're listening is when, not if, but when we get them on this podcast.
Right.
Is
We bring it up.
that's I talking with Joe that he likes to give the staff members, the teams, September to kind of decompress, get through, and then it's back to work. Well, when it gets back to work, guess what? It's when the emails start coming, the text messages start getting sent out to it's go time. I mean, it's not the off season, it's the beginning of the season. Even though there's no product on the field, it's the beginning of the season. And there's plenty of things that can be said. So that the interviews will start coming about. I was actually at work and I ran into Brandon and I talked to him and he was mentioning that they're still cleaning up aspects of the field. So like even though the season's over with, they're still out there working on stuff. So, I said the conversation could be had, send out a text message to him and see when he's readily available. I think we talked to I can't think of the concession stand guy's first
Yeah.
name. But
Yeah.
yeah, just getting those kind of people on, maybe trying to get Anthony on. I've been trying for half a year to try to get him on, but he's a slippery little snake. But that's beside the point. It's just more fun here or there. We'll have Joe back on and just more aspect, get the grounds crew people on here, just kind of talking about. So the interviews are coming. Also, with that being said, with transactions, if it is a player that is willing to jump on beforehand, to get him on to the podcast to talk about what maybe not season expectations, but to get to know them, kind of like what we did at the beginning
Yep.
throughout the rest of the year, just to get them to know on. So when you do see them at the field, at least you know their name.
Yeah.
So that's where we're headed. There's plans for the off season. It's just not going to be like, all right, see you guys in May or in April when things start rolling around. It's nonstop going action for the RailCats, even though the season's over with.
You know what's hilarious is when we face somebody we face Chicago, and I have some of the top Chicago fans there at the stadium when we're in Chicago, and they're running their mouth about their team. We're great, we're this, we're that, and then all I have to do is look at them and say, "What's that pitcher's name?" And they're like, I don't, hold on. No, you should know if you're going to run your mouth about how good your team is, you should know who your players
Yep.
are.
Well,
And this is going to help those RailCats fans out there understand who their players are.
this isn't just a fun recreational. This is an educational podcast too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like learning about maple syrup and the
Maple
smell of
syrup.
the gear in Canada. Hey,
Yeah.
the more you know. Can you put that banner, the more you know, as we go right
The more
here?
you,
Boom.
yeah, yeah, the more you know. Yep, I'll make sure I do that between my little bit of editing that I sometimes do, depending on time.
There you go.
So with that being said, Chuck, you got any final thoughts for this week?
Oh, we're gonna decompress. Baseball's over with.
Hockey season.
Uh, no, baseball season. We gotta. So I don't even fill up my off season. You fill yours off season up with baseball. I don't even fill up my off season. Now I will be no sports. I might go to a hockey game. I should go to a hockey game. I won't watch any football. Maybe I'll watch the Buccaneers play once or twice, but no, not not going to worry about it. World Series coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, Don't even know what teams are playing good right now. Don't care.
My football fill is on Saturdays because that's the best. Well, Friday nights and Saturdays are the best time to watch football. Sundays and Mondays, even
You
those
you
Thursday
can,
nights,
but I mean, it's your Saturday college football is tainted now with
there's
these
still
players
there's
going
still
all over.
tradition there. There's that's nor here nor there.
They ruined it. They ruined it.
Yeah, they'll
So,
fix it. They'll be fine. That'll be fine.
all
But
right. How about
yeah,
you?
hockey season. It's my fun time of the year. It's the time of the year where I get to be a fan.
Yeah.
Right. So like doing and going back to the comment of, starting this as a hobby, like I fill my time in the off season, the summertime with baseball. Yes, that's how it kind of started. But realistically, I've gotten so invested in it that really this has been the sport that I follow the most. So it's just going to be nice to have a season where I can just watch the Blackhawks play. Hopefully, I don't have to pull out the old antenna for the Chicago region sports, whatever they're changing to, because NBC Sports Chicago is going away on October 1st, but that's beside the point. Uh, and when games aren't on, just can have hockey in the background, but then just to get to enjoy time away from looking at my phone all the time, going, okay, what's going on today? Or what's the scores, making a tight schedule. So it's going to be nice to kind of get away, decompress for a little bit, recruit, and just enjoy being a fan.
So here's the big question. Who will have a better winning percentage? The Railcats or the Blackhawks?
No, Blackhawks.
Okay.
I don't have that stat pulled up, but they have to wait, hold on. They have to before we end. Oh, this stupid. Uh, Here we go. I hit the wrong button, and I don't care what's going on with the news today. Um, where's that standing? They have to beat a 300 winning percentage.
Right, I know. 300.
So my brain, I don't remember things a lot. I should have known 30 and 70, 30, but that's beside the point.
Okay,
I think I've started rambling on. I think I'm terrible at ending podcasts. It's just
that's all
how it
right. You'll
naturally
get
goes.
better every time. So you think the Blackhawks are gonna have a better winning percentage than the Railcats?
Yeah. This is year 3 of the rebuild.
Okay.
All right.
At
So
what point in time are you going to tell me that I was correct? That's what I want to hear. Is when we wind up having a podcast.
when mathematically it is not feasible anymore, I will tell you that you're
Okay.
right,
All right.
but it's just not
All
gonna
right.
happen. They got too many pieces. They got enough pieces to be
So
wild
what you're
card
saying is,
worthy.
on paper, they should.
Well, you're right. There we go. On paper. You got me there. All right. With that
All
being
right.
said, I'm gonna wrap this podcast up. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, rest of your evening, wherever you're watching this. And as always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.